The world can seem upside down at times, which has set me on a journey in search for love, truth, and ultimately personal freedom. Welcome to the Lucas Mack Show. Who did you have to become to survive? And who did you abandon in the process? I'm Lucas Mack, and this is the Lucas Mack Show. Welcome to another episode. It's been a while since I did a solo episode, actually more than a year, which is really wild to think because I used to do them quite frequently. But in this episode, I want you to reflect on who did you have to become to survive, whatever it is that you grew up in. And who did you abandon in order to survive? That person you were inside yourself, the innocence, the dreamer, the joyful, laughing, playful, imaginative child that you once were. Who did you abandon to become the person you are today that survived it all? In preparation for this podcast, I was thinking about a time when I was in sixth grade and I just got out of seeing a movie. I don't remember what the movie was, but I was with my friend who was a fifth grader. We played on the same baseball team, and I grew up in this town that just had a little two-screen theater. It was the Marysville Twin Cinema. And he and I, my buddy, come out of the theater, and I don't remember if we were waiting to be picked up or we were going to walk back to his house quite a ways, miles away. But these three kids came up to me and him, and they asked me what grade I was in. I said 6, and they said, one of the three, they said, he's also in 6th grade. You want to fight him? And he goes, the other two said they were in 8th grade. And I got really scared because I grew up next to this reservation, the Tulalip Indian Reservation, and these three guys were from it, and they like to fight non-natives like myself. And I was really scared, but I was with my buddy, I thought. But when I turned around, he was nowhere to be found. He had run off and left me all alone. And I remember feeling the sense of dread in that moment where this 6th grader who was smaller than me, they were provoking me to fight him so that the two 8th graders could jump in and beat me up. And as I was standing there, afraid and terrified, already grew up afraid because of what I endured in my home. Then I'm outside my home and I was afraid, and I didn't want to get into a fight. And anytime anyone gets into a fight, it's scary. But in this one particular moment, I remember standing there kind of frozen, and I didn't know what to do, and I was alone. My buddy had run off. In fact, I don't think I ever talked to him after that. I mean, I'd see him, but we weren't friends after that. But all of a sudden, these two 8th graders stopped and they looked at me and they go, "Let's get out of here. This kid's sick." And they ran away. Now, I don't know what they saw. I remember telling my mom, and she said, they saw the angels that were protecting you. Maybe so. I don't know. But they said, "This kid's sick. Let's get out of here." And the three ran away. And I was there by myself, and eventually my friend did come back because he was watching around the corner. But in that moment, as I prepared for this podcast, I was reflecting on that moment that I had to abandon everything that was true to me. I had to abandon the joy of just seeing the movie that I had watched. I had to abandon the kind, gentle person that I was. And immediately I had to freeze up and brace for a fight. And that's why I ask, who did you have to become to survive? And who did you abandon in the process? All of us as adults, it doesn't matter how old we are, we have abandoned that sweet innocence inside of us. And as the world is absolutely crazy, I don't think there's anyone that goes, yeah, everything's good in the world. The world's crazy. But when the world is crazy, we should be able to return back to ourselves and back to center and find that peace. But so many of us have that peace stolen from us, removed from us, threatened out of us, yelled out of us, beaten out of us, molested out of us, or worse. Actually, you know, it's horrible to even think that there is worse. And then we become adults and we try to function and operate, whether in jobs or our families and society, even navigating traffic. All the while, we have lost that once bright eyed, expectant child that was inside of us, the ones that we were. And as the world is crazy and as everything seems upside down, we, my dear brother and sister, we have to return back and find that little child. We have to return back and do anything in our means to reclaim the truth of who we are. Because the person that we are, that we operate in society without reclaiming the innocence inside of us, this is the person that wears the masks. The mask of perfection, the mask of performance, the mask of toughness, the mask of humor, the mask of sorrow, the mask of story, the mask of victim, the mask of, and the list goes on and on and on. And I don't know what mask you're wearing. And maybe you have yet to identify the mask that you're wearing, but we all wear masks. And masks inherently are not good or bad. They just are. They're actually a protective measure for us to feel safe so that we can go throughout the day and have some semblance of normalcy. However, they're not representative of our authentic, true self. So when we abandon that truth within us, when we abandon that little child that we once were, and it could have been really early on, it might have been in the womb. Sometimes people experience trauma in the womb and then they come out guarded. But whenever that was for you, I know what it was for me. It is our job, dear brother and sister, to heal that, to find that, to rescue that innocence, to rescue that little child and bring them back into us. So that innocence, that dreamer, the imagination, the play, the joy, the expectant child that we once were, can finally feel safe inside of us as its own home. And that's why it's so important, because as the world gets crazier and crazier, which it will, it's our job to become safer and safer for the inner child, for our true self. And when we don't, and we go throughout the day and we operate in these circles of work and home and even going to the grocery store, we operate in this pretense that everything operates as we expect it to operate. But when things don't go our way, when there's a glitch in the matrix, when bullies will pop out of a movie theater and threaten and want to fight you, our response is to disappear a little bit more. If we have yet to do the work, if we have not done the work, to remind that little child inside of us that they are safe because we are the ones who guard and protect them. I think one of the greatest lies of religion, especially Christianity in the form that it's given to everyone, something that I grew up with, is that once you lose your virginity, or once you have something happen, that it's irredeemable, that it's broken, that there's dirtiness, that it cannot be restored, clean, fixed, that once you lost it, too bad for you, you lost it. And that's ridiculous. Nature stands in opposition to that narrative because it regenerates every year. It releases, it receives, it gives, and it allows, but it never judges. And when we can get back into that natural sync, when we can come back into ourselves and breathe and release and remind ourselves that we are safe, we can reclaim the innocence that we've been searching for. Or maybe you have given up in search of that innocence, and instead, without addressing the ache inside of your soul that has longed for the innocence but foregone so far in the past, you've given up hope that it was even possible to reclaim it. You've turned to alcohol. You've turned to Hollywood and gossip and entertainment. I don't know what it is. But I do know that that void of innocence, reclaiming it, has to be filled because the pain of the absence of it is too much to bear. So people turn to unhealthy drugs, alcohol, addictions to numb that voice that says, come find me and rescue me and reclaim me. It's actually a beautiful journey that we all have the opportunity to go on, and a beautiful role that we all have the opportunity to perform and fulfill is that of hero and rescuer of our inner child, of the innocent self. I used to teach because I heard it and I parroted it as if it was true because it seemed like sound logic. In the Bible, it says that no adulterer, no fornicator, no sorcerer or witchcraft, no covetous, all these people, all the list will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. Essentially, that you're going to hell. And I used to listen to these street preachers and say, well, if you steal once, are you a thief? And they go, yeah. And if you lied once, what does that make you? A liar. And if you do this, and then he says, yeah, well, the Bible says that none of those are going to enter the kingdom of heaven. And then it shames the person and guilts them. And then they give the answer that Jesus is the redemption of all that. And not necessarily that that is wrong, but what that premise is that we are broken beyond redemption, except for something outside of ourselves. Now, I don't think God intended for us to ever be separate from him. That even our very breath that we have in our lungs, that we are allowed to even be aware in this moment, you in this podcast, me sharing, are we distant from God? Is God not connected to us all? How can that be? How can life sustain without the source of all life? Of course, God is everywhere, and we are connected to God in everything. However, when we forget that because the lie says that we are separated, or we forget that and the lie says that we are broken, we forget that, it takes us down this journey, and our behavior is an output of our internal belief system. So when we have an internal belief system that says we're broken, we're wrong, we're dirty, we're sinners, we're all the things that bring shame and don't bring life, because if they brought life, they would be based in truth. If they were true, they would make us free. But because they don't make us free, they only compound chain upon chain, bondage upon bondage, then we know it's not true. But the truth, that thing that has almost been completely wiped out in the zeitgeist of our existence, truth. The truth is the only thing that will make us free. Telling the truth of what happened to us, you going back and being honest with yourself of all the abuse you endured, or the neglect you endured, or the screaming, or the environments that you felt unsafe. Maybe it was the bullies outside of a movie theater. Maybe it was the grade that you worked really hard to get and you didn't get it, and it kept you from getting into something that you wanted. Maybe it was that. But whatever it was, that belief system that you've built up creates your behaviors. And then society likes to indict the behavior as opposed to give an invitation to go heal the belief system and heal the truth that we need to reclaim our innocence. So who did you have to become to survive? We can give thanks for the person that you had to become to survive, and also acknowledge you don't have to be that person anymore because you are here now. And because you are here now, you also have the opportunity to do the work, to return back into yourself, to pull back all the power that you've let go or has been taken from you, to reclaim it all back. And then from that place, so choose to surrender. But you're doing it from a conscious intention, not from an unconscious or an unwilling act of survival. You're doing it from a place. I think when, the Bible says in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6, it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Well, I think, how can I trust the Lord with all my heart? All my heart, if I don't even know all my heart? How can I acknowledge him in all my ways when I'm not even sure which direction I'm going? I think we are missing a step. We read these verses or we read these teachings or doctrines. It doesn't have to be Christianity. It doesn't have to be the Bible. It could be anything. It could be a self-help book. It could be politics, whatever. People give these outcomes without ever teaching how to get there. And my dear brother and sister, the way to get there, to reclaim all that you are, is to face everything that's happened to you without shame or judgment, without blaming, just simply looking at it and acknowledging. And when you can look and face every single thing that's happened to you, dear one, you'll finally understand that you are here now. And what happened to you then, you were the one who protected that innocence. You were the one who rescued the little child that you once were. So when you can face it and find the courage to face it, then you can finally speak to it. It says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Well, so many of us have not been able to speak fully out of our hearts because we've yet to fully look at what's being guarded in our heart to keep us from being free. So once you face it, then you can speak to it and you can talk on the little child that you once were on their behalf. And you can scream, you can yell, you can rage, you can cry. Because honestly, truly, how sad is it that innocent children in the human species has to endure such cruel, vile, and harsh realities? And yet, here we are. And yet, you survived. So you get to speak to it and allow all that you wished you could have sent then. Even if you didn't have the intellect or the conscious mind to say anything then, even if you could have, now you get to go back and say everything you wished you could have. And who are you saying it to? You're saying it to the person who perpetrated, but you're saying it out loud. You're getting it out of you. It cannot just be in your mind. This is a very interesting teaching that I teach at retreats. You cannot just say it in your mind. It has to come out of your mouth. It has to be a sound, frequency, and vibration, because if it does not come out, it will not come out. Meaning, if you don't speak it out, it can't get out of your heart. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And then the final step, once you've cried and you've had those experiences, then, dear brother and sister, then you can release. Then you can surrender. Then you can go to God and say, God, every single painful thing that I have endured, that you have been witness to, God, now, as I've faced it and I've spoken to it, now I release it all to you. That's how trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and then he shall direct your paths. That's how we get to that place. You see, to trust God is to understand that there is something greater than us. Well, to trust ourselves is to understand that we were greater than the pain and the perpetrator's acts. And also, us wearing the mask, us in our armor, are the protector of the innocent child inside of us. So our innocence never left, ever. Ever. There's a movie called Luther about Martin Luther's life, and I think it's Ralph Fiennes is the actor, and it's a fantastic movie. I love it. There's this one scene, though, at the beginning when Luther is an early monk that this young boy hangs himself. And church law was that, the Catholic Church law was that any suicide couldn't be buried and have a Christian burial. But Martin Luther took the little boy down, and his parents were grieving and they were ashamed and embarrassed. And Martin Luther brought him into the cemetery and they buried him. And he said, this boy's despair was stolen from Satan. Was it any different than an innocent bystander being robbed and murdered on the road? Something came upon them and overtook them. To indict the person who got overtook is the greatest, I think, heresy in the existence of this realm, because God's love is for all at all times. That does not excuse consequence, but what it does do is for the victims of every single horrific thing that's happened, say that when it happened, as it happened, whatever we chose to do with it, it didn't define the truth of who we were. It doesn't define the truth of who you are now. So it's a great movie, and I really do recommend everyone watch it. It's very inspiring. So, dear brothers and sisters, I wrap this podcast. I just wanted to get on. It's the first solo episode, like I said, in way more than a year. I actually don't even remember the last time. It might be close to 2 years. It's been a while. But I hope that this at least encourages you or helps you or wakes something up in you to go, yeah, who I am right now, it's close, but it's not there. I haven't dialed it in to be the fullest expression of myself, to live authentically without the mask, to stand in our courage, to stand in our power, to stand in our truth, and simply emit the light and love and truth, goodness and beauty that we are, that we were when we were born, that we are now, and we will be when we take our last breath. That's my desire for you. That's my desire for myself, for my wife, for my children, for all of humanity. We are so much stronger than any oppositional force will ever give us credit for. But the fact that we exist even now, despite being hated, despite all these elites trying to wipe us out with every measure that they can, we're here, shows how powerful we are. So I hope this encourages you on your journey. I am Lucas Mack. This is the Lucas Mack Show, and I'll talk to you on the next episode. Thank you for listening. If you're struggling to break free and need support, go to my website at lucasmack.com. There you'll find resources like videos and ebooks, and also information on how to work with me for coaching. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon.